What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and I start this review with a heavy heart and a rock in my gut because that was hard to watch. This is, of course, The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 1, The Day Will Come When You Won't Be. And I didn't see that coming at all. And I don't know if they did this on purpose, but I think part of that is down to a lot of what they did last season. If you really think about it, this scene, it's kind of already, it's like if you've read the comics, you know that Negan kills Glenn. If you haven't read the comics, somebody that's read the comics told you Negan kills Glenn. So I think they knew that going into this and thought to themselves, how can we make it to where we fool people into thinking that we're not going to do that and then end up doing that anyway? So they pretend to kill Glenn at the dumpster. And now all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, there's no possible way that Glenn's gonna die. You know, they wouldn't actually do that. I know that he dies in the comics, but there's no way they're actually going to kill him after they just decided not to kill him. That wouldn't make any sense. We'd have to go through his death twice. And so they actually fooled me into thinking that he wasn't going to die. And then on top of that, we have the whole thing that they did in the final episode, which, if you want to know my thoughts on that, I didn't like how they set up the whole thing where somebody's going to die and then somebody died, but we don't know who. I thought it was kind of a cop-out to make us, oh, come back next season. But anyway, those are just my thoughts on that. As far as that final episode, though, I think they did this whole setup. They did where it was from first person of somebody inside the van, and then somebody dies. First person, like the person inside the van. So it was kind of like, oh, so it was either Michonne, Glenn, Daryl, or Rosita. And of those four, Michonne would have looked at Rick before she died, and Glenn, like we saw, looked at Maggie. So it was kind of like, so it's not those two. It could be either Daryl or Rosita. And I watched this scene again before, this whole thing happened. And sure enough, Daryl gets out, Michonne gets out, and then the camera shows them getting out, and Rosita is the one behind Michonne. So I was like, okay, so it's got to be Rosita, right? Nope, it was all first person from Abraham's point of view. You did that to make me think one thing, and then completely... It's super clever, but at the same time, I'm kind of pissed about it. Like, why would you do that to me, you sneaky bastards? But yeah, I mean, was it a good episode? Heck, it was great. I mean, first of all, this is a risk that I didn't think they were going to take. First of all, Glenn. Nobody actually thought he was actually going to die, especially after what happened with the dumpster scene last year. Nobody actually thought that was going to happen, even though it does in the comics. And then it does. Abraham is like, he is the one-liner guy. He is the one that needs the comic relief. You're just like, there's no way. But honestly, when I first saw that scene last season, whenever the person got hit and they just got right back up and looked him dead in the eyes, I'm like, now the only person I see doing that would be Abraham. Sure enough, that's exactly who it was. So it's exactly what people were thinking. It's exactly what you thought, but they did so many different things to make you think something different that you got caught second guessing yourself, and that's exactly what happened to me. I thought there's no way it's going to be either of those two, and then it ended up being both of those two. It's just, we live in a world now where nothing is kept secret. Like, I had heard so many different things going into this episode. I heard that two people were going to die. I heard who it was going to be. I heard people's theories. Apparently a video of it got leaked. I didn't get to see that, but yeah, it's hard to keep a secret nowadays. And ultimately, it was kind of spoiled, but they did it in such a way that it didn't feel like a spoiler. It felt like there's no way that's actually going to happen. So when it actually does, it kind of catches you off guard. And then, of course, the brutality of the scene itself really catches you off guard. I mean, when he hits Glenn and then he gets up and there's his eye, oh my god. Like, there are just certain... That scene, that entire scene when that happened, I just felt sick to my stomach. It was really hard to get through. It was really hard to watch. And ultimately, what it does, that and then what happens afterwards with Rick, going out there and having to survive with with Negan as his sort of buddy. What it does, it sort of sets up what a great villain that Negan's going to be. You really look at this episode, and a lot of it is just so much darker than anything we've seen on the show. We've seen a lot of dark scenes. We've seen a lot of scenes that just really made you question how far is this show willing to go. I mean, the look at the flower scene, Sophia, what was one of the other scenes? Those are the two that just sort of stick out to me. It felt like there's no end to the depth that this show is willing to go to. And then they have this scene, and just like, okay, we found a new depth. Like, this is darker than anything I've seen on the show. And it's brutal, it's gruesome. And ultimately, what he does afterwards, after we see that scene, taking Rick out there, with his axe, putting him in a field of walkers, saying, "Get my axe back." So now he has to survive on his own in the walker field, just breaking him down and showing how powerless he is. And of course, Rick can't do anything about it. If he kills Negan, all the guys back at that place, they're gonna kill everybody. They've got guns, they've got more weaponry, they've got an army compared to just the 10 of them, or 9 of them. I can't remember how many there were now. So it's kind of like he's in a hopeless situation, but yet, like Negan says, he's still got this look on his face like he still thinks he can fight back. He still thinks that he can take on Negan. So he's trying to cut that out. And sure enough, it just keeps breaking him down, putting him in hopeless situations, but then, ultimately saving him too. So it's almost like even though he's put him in this position, he's also his savior. So you can see how he's just playing with his mind, and then ultimately we finally get that scene where it's like, draws a line on Carl's arm, just says, chop his arm off. And ultimately, kind of similar to the biblical story of, I want to say Noah. No, it was Abraham. Kind of ironic, Abraham. Anyway, but Abraham has a moment where God tells him, sacrifice your son. So he's about to do it, and then an angel shows up and tells him to stop. Kind of had a similar feel here where he's like, chop off your son's arm. He goes to chop it off, and he's just like, wait. That's the look I wanted to see. So it feels like he's being evil. He's shutting him down. He's just constantly just breaking him down, but then he's also there to help him back up again. He throws him into a field of walkers. It looks like he's about to die. There's Negan with the assault rifle, taking out the walkers, saving him from the walkers. He's about to chop off his son's arm. There's Negan stepping in and saying, you don't have to do it anymore. It's such a psychological mindfuck that I honestly, I don't know where this season is going to go now. Because all of that build-up and all of that brilliant just writing that I thought this show was done with. Like, honestly, most of last season, it was good, but there were some decisions made, there were some choices made, there were some moments in the season that pissed me off because I thought the writing in those scenes were poor. This episode just kind of said, don't worry, we got you. We can still write great stuff. This was a brilliantly just scripted episode to sort of show the despair that Rick is going through. And honestly, that's the thing that I think most shows don't do nowadays. They like to talk about it. They like to talk about what's going on. In another show that's not as good, they would have had Negan explaining all this stuff. Like, you see how I threw you out there amongst the walkers, but then I saved you? He doesn't even have to say that. It's just shown. Like, you're supposed to understand that. You're supposed to look at this and say, this is what Negan is trying to do. He's trying to show him that even though, yeah, he's the one that's putting him through this, he's also the one that can help him out of it. They don't have to say it. And I think that's brilliant the way they do that. It's a way to show the audience, hey, we trust that you can understand this. We trust that you can get what we're trying to say here without us trying to, handhold your way through. So I honestly, I am still frustrated by some things. I'm still frustrated the fact that we had that Glenn in the dumpster scene just to have this happen. And I'm also kind of frustrated at the fact that they tried to trick us and made us wait all the way until now to find out what really happened. So I'm frustrated with that, but at the same time, I mean, this episode was brilliant. There's so many good things about it. Everything that happened with Rick after that scene that we got with Abraham and Glenn, I mean, everything after that was just, it was spot on. I honestly cannot think of anything bad to say. You know, some people might look at it and say, "Oh, but it dragged on a little bit. They talked a bit too much." I honestly just look at it as it's intensity building. You know, like the fact that he's just sitting there talking to Rick this entire time, and just dragging it on, just making Rick have to wait through everything, making him have to suffer through this, making his torture extend even longer. I look at that and think that is even more torture. So I don't know what else to say about this. I mean, it's a good setup. I guess I do need to talk about the end because there was some interesting stuff there at the end. Maggie's the first one to get up, and she's just like, I'm going to go to Hilltop. You guys go back and get ready to fight. I find that very interesting because one of the things I did hear about the comics is that when Glenn dies, Maggie becomes kind of a leader. And we've seen that. In fact, I think, if I remember right, she was kind of the negotiator between Alexandra and Hilltop, at least the leader there. So it would be interesting to see if she goes and starts overseeing Hilltop now. And also still interested to see what's going on with her baby because we didn't really get resolution on that. But I like the fact that she's the one that stands up and says, we gotta fight. You know, everybody else is just kind of broken. And she's the one, her husband was just killed right in front of her. And yet she's got the strength to stand up and say, we gotta fight. I give Rick obviously has an excuse. He just got broken down, severely broken down. But what Negan did not count on, he didn't count that one of the other people in the group, somebody else, is still having the strength to fight, and it ends up being Maggie. I really hope to see more of that because I feel like she can really become a strong character now. She was growing, we saw last season. I feel like now is her chance to really step up and really become a pinnacle persona in this series so far. So very interested to see where that goes. Of course, one of the other plot lines is now Negan has Daryl. It's kind of a, we have your man, so if you try to do anything to stop us, if you don't give us what we want, if you try to fight back, he'll die. So it's kind of, it's another threat against him. I feel like Daryl will probably escape at some point, or try to at least, because it's Daryl. If he's going to go down, he's going to go down in a blaze of glory. He's going to take at least 100 guys with him somehow, some way. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, what else can I say about this episode? It hit exactly what I expected it, or wanted it to hit. It made up for some of the issues I had, and I really think it's got a great setup for this season. So, looking forward to it. Still feel really sick to my stomach because of all of this, and just thinking about those scenes make me sick. But that's what the show's supposed to do. That's what the show used to do. We haven't had a scene like this in so long. It's kind of like it's a return to form. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Obviously, if you're sad like I am, let me know how you feel. Let me know how we can cope with this loss. But yeah, let me know what you think about this episode. What do you think this season is going to do? We can talk about, discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future The Walking Dead reviews, and I will see you at the next one. Peace out.